do it like me. Ain't nobody out here winning like me. Can't nobody out here do it like me. Just like me, like me. Can't nobody out here do it like me. Ain't nobody out here winning like me. Can't nobody out here do it like me. Just like me, like me. I'm one of a kind, I'm like a rare breed. A breath of fresh air, you can see me. People stand up just to greet me. Role model, kids wanna be me. Listen now, lady, you'll believe me. Got you under my spell, the whole thing was easy. I just come and wink my eye like a genie. Put my crown on, y'all little peasant can king me. I'm irreplaceable, the different one. Since I was born, I was the chosen one. Every time I speak, you know it's unique. Might go over your head, my words are kinda too deep.
Today, this is Will Garth here with Computer Class, and today we're going to be working on the PlayStation 4. As you can see here, we're going to be disassembling this, taking it all the way apart, putting it back together. We're going to clean it as well because it's got a lot of dust going on in there. In addition to that, I'm going to also tell you some of the tools that we're using here and the different tool sets that you can use for this, along with some of the cleaning tools that we're using here. So this is basically a two-in-one vacuum cleaner. It can clean small electronic devices. You can use it to clean your car or anything like that. And this is a 48-piece, actually a 55-piece tool set with all the Torxes, Phillips, and flatheads, and it also has the prime tools here that you can use to get into those crevices and places, and a little dust kit as well when you get down to that area. So yeah, so first we're going to start off with the cleaning. Gets a little dusty sometimes. Okay, so the first step, we're going to flip it over this way, and you'll notice that there are these little silver stickers on here. We're going to pop those silver stickers off. That's going to expose the screws in the back. Basically voiding the warranty, but of course this warranty has already expired. Okay, now we're gonna, as you can see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 screws here. I believe these are T6. So once you take your tool, put it in here. Hey, I'm filming right now for computer class. I'm gonna have to hit you right back.
All right, bet.
All right.
Later.
first screw. When we take the screws out, we're going to want to set them in a place where we're not going to lose them. So I'm going to grab something real quick. Today this is going to be our screw keeper. It's going to be a lot of screws coming out of here. Now, once we get the bottom 3 screws off, it's actually pretty easy for the back piece to come off. Some of these screws can get a little stubborn. This one don't want to come off. Always that one screw. There we go. So now that we had the bottom 4 screws off, our bottom faceplate comes off. It's still a little dusty. We're gonna hit it again. Now, if you look here, now we have access to the entire console. Right here is our DVD or Blu-ray drive, and then we have our fan, a ribbon cable. Looks like a screw. Somehow a screw is in here. I wonder where that came from. I guess we'll find out. Like it might have came out of there. All right, so we're gonna clean it up a little bit more, and then we're gonna take the rest of these panels off. So our next is going to be these 4 screws using the same T6. 1, 2, 3. This is the power supply right here. There is 2 more screws. These are actually using a flathead. So we're switching over, and not a flathead, but a Phillips. Switching over to the Phillips. These are the long screws coming out of here. Now we're gonna loosen that up a little bit. Okay, now we're ready to do the other side. The purpose of this, I believe this is going to slide up and come off like that. And now we got a couple more screws in here. Back to our T6. Now this panel should slide right off. Alright, this is the top panel. That is the light indicator right there. Here we have the bottom of the motherboard. We have a hard drive right here. This is our PlayStation hard drive. We're going to remove it. One Phillips screw, slide it right out. We have a SATA 3 500 gigabyte SATA 2.5 inch hard drive. Should be 7,200 RPMs, but this one's a 5,400 RPM. Normally a 7,200 RPM will be a lot faster. So now that we got the hard drive out, this is the heatsink that keeps the motherboard and the CPU on the heatsink. So we're not actually taking the motherboard out, so we're going to flip it back over and continue on this side with the power supply. The power supply is already loose and it is coming right out. As it comes out, you'll see on this side, there's a 4 or 5 connector ribbon cable. We pull that out and voila. This is the PlayStation 4 power supply. You don't want to be careful with this part because sometimes it can still hold a charge in the resistors and could cause a shock. Gotta be careful with that, so make sure you don't get it wet or get any moisture on it, but cleaning it out is good as long as you don't get into the resistors and stuff. Set that right there. So now we can see more of inside of the unit. The only thing left to take out now is the BD-ROM drive. We're going to go ahead and do that. Back to the Torx. There should be 2 screws on the sides. There's also ribbon cable right here. We're going to disconnect it using our prying tool. And we have another little cable here. We're going to pull that to the side. This is the eject cable here. You want to be really careful with that. Actually, this is the Wi-Fi antenna. This is for wireless. This is connected to the wireless device back there. So now there is a ribbon that leads to the back right here for the connection of the Blu-ray drive. Now what we're gonna do, we're just gonna lift it straight up. There's one more screw down in here. Got that out. Now it should come right out. It's a little tension on this cable. I'm going to unplug it. We can use we got a tool for that. We unplug that ribbon, that'll go back in there. Now we have the Blu-ray drive. This is probably the most sensitive part of the system. It's the optical disc drive. There is a game currently in it. If you do this, make sure you take the game out first. I'm taking a risk, but hey, it's the old Call of Duty anyway. It's not the new one. So now we're going to set that over here. And now we have a fully disassembled PlayStation 4. The motherboard is fully shielded, so we can't really see a lot of it. Even on the bottom, as you can see, we don't really want to get into that part of it. But just know that this is the motherboard. This is the CPU fan. In the back here, we have a lot of similarities. We have 2 USB ports. That's the front actually. In the back, we have an HDMI cable, an optical out, an Ethernet, and the auxiliary, which is used for like the PSVR, which we just did that PSVR, but we're gonna do it later. So, all right, we're gonna take a break and then we're gonna put this back together. All right, back here, PlayStation 4 reassembly. Now that we've taken it all the way apart and cleaned it, we have all our parts laid out here. We have our Blu-ray drive, power supply, hard drive, top pieces. We're gonna go ahead and start putting these back in. Starting with the Blu-ray drive, we're going to first connect this ribbon, this bottom ribbon. It's going to be a little tricky. Going to have to get it at an angle. Alright, we got that ribbon plugged in. Let's make sure it's in there tight. Push it in. Bam. Now, swing it around. Kind of got to use a little dexterity with this. So if you're kind of shaky with your hands, just, you know, be very patient with it, because tugging it the wrong way, pulling it the wrong way will break something. Now that that's down, We're going to make sure everything is seated correctly. We're going to put in this ribbon. And the ribbon should snap. Make sure everything is plugged in back here. And now, let's put some of these screws back. I'm going to run this antenna back. Put this back where it was at. Gonna be 2 screws on the sides. Screw those in. Once we have those screwed in, we know that the DVD drive is not going anywhere. So now, let's go ahead and plug in the power supply. Power supply has one 5-piece cable here. You're gonna want to make sure you plug this in on the right side. And then there's a slide in right there, slide in piece with 2 prongs. It has to slide in perfectly. So we're going to make sure we slide that in perfectly. Perfect. Now we got 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 long guys here. We'll come back to those once we switch our screwdriver. So normally when you put a system back together, you want to try to just go in reverse so that you don't really miss anything. Okay, that's optional, you don't have to do that, but okay. So now we want to flip it over, insert the hard drive. It's going to slide right in. You should hear a little click, just like that. This wide screw goes in here. Bam. Holds the hard drive in place. Now we're down to 8 screws. So there are 2 screws that go on the top of here. And then there should be 2 screws that go on this side as well. So let's try to find those. Because 1 screw was kind of already floating around in there. I'm not really sure where that screw was at, but we're going to try to put it where it should be. So if this is the top of the console, this is the side. So that's the bottom of the console. So this is the top. And there are arrows here to tell you where the screws are at. You slide it on from the back, slide it through on the top. Grab these 2 screws, get them in the grooves, screw them in. I see that there's a screw here. Nope, that's not one. Okay, so this should snap right back on here. Should click. There's a button right here. You want to make sure that button still works. So if that button doesn't work, you won't be able to turn the system on. It doesn't seem like that button is clicking, so let's double check that part. A little dust on this side, we're gonna go ahead and hit it. Now we see that this button has to be put under here with a little bit of leverage. So we're just going to bend it back, put it under there, just like that. Now we got contact. Otherwise, when we hit that button, the system wouldn't power on. We have a whole nother problem. Okay. Now we're going to flip it back over. Everything seems to be tight. There is one more screw up here at the top. Okay, got that one in. I think there's one here. Nope. I think that's where that one came out of. So we're gonna switch these two. So when we first opened up the system, there was already a screw moving around in there. And I think we found where it goes. So we might as well put it back where it needs to be. Yep, that wasn't it. So now we're moving forward without it. Gonna put this guy back in here. Make sure that's tight. And the remaining 4 screws are gonna go on the back. Once we slide this piece on, we have to really get it hooked on the bottom, push it up, slap it down. Now we got those 4 screws going in the back. Gonna get those in there. fully reassembled. I'm gonna take this baby upstairs. Make sure it still works. Quick wipe down. PlayStation 4, put it back together. We're gonna run upstairs, plug it up, make sure it works. HDMI. When we turn it back on, it might give us an error that says it wasn't shut down properly. But, all right, now it's powering on. Switch the right source. There we go. Now it's checking the hard drive. Of course, we just took this whole system apart. So it's got to check everything, make sure everything is there. Make sure nothing's messed up. Let's see if that game will come out. All right, Call of Duty. And put that back in the case. And now the system's restarting. I have had this PlayStation for 7 years. So, hey. All right, so now that's the message about it wasn't turned off properly. We see that. Okay. All right. And it still works. Thanks for tuning in. Computer class, PlayStation 4 teardown.